Imagine waking up one day, feeling the crushing weight of déjà vu, the same mistakes, the same heartbreaks, the same dead-end decisions pulling you down like an invisible current. You swear this time it will be different. Yet, somehow, the cycle repeats. Why is it so easy to slip into the same patterns, no matter how hard you try to change? You might believe the answers lie in your circumstances, your upbringing, or your luck. But what if the real trap is hidden deep inside your mind, a silent saboteur influencing your thoughts and choices without your awareness? Consider this paradox. The more you try to control your life and make rational decisions, the more you fall prey to irrational mental forces that twist your perception. The very faculties that should serve your freedom instead weave chains around your consciousness. Why do we keep repeating the same mistakes even when we know better? How can we claim free will if our minds are prisoners of unseen biases and mental models? And what if understanding these invisible forces is the key to breaking free, but only if we dare to confront the uncomfortable truths about ourselves? Thinkers like Carl Jung explored the shadow self, the hidden parts of our psyche that govern behavior beneath conscious awareness. Daniel Kahneman revealed that much of our thinking is automatic, riddled with cognitive biases that deceive us daily. Friedrich Nietzsche warned of the illusions we cling to in pursuit of meaning, often blinding ourselves to reality. You stand at the edge of a vast psychological abyss, peering into the depths of your mind's hidden machinery. What will you find? There, a mirror reflecting your true self, or a labyrinth of mental traps, illusions, and contradictions. This journey into your own psyche is no mere intellectual exercise. It's an emotional odyssey confronting pain, denial, and the shadow of your own identity. The questions you face are not just academic. They are personal, urgent, and sometimes unsettling. Are you ready to uncover the biases that secretly control your life? To confront the mental models shaping your every decision, emotion, and belief? To challenge everything you think you know about yourself? If so, prepare to dive deep. Because the truth you seek lies not in the surface of everyday consciousness but in the hidden patterns beneath, where freedom and self-mastery await, but only for those brave enough to see. Beneath the surface of your conscious mind lies a sprawling labyrinth of biases and mental shortcuts, invisible architects shaping how you perceive the world and yourself. These cognitive biases act like unseen currents, steering your thoughts, decisions, and emotions with quiet but relentless force. Take the example of confirmation bias, the tendency to seek, interpret, and remember information that confirms your existing beliefs. It's why you might ignore evidence that challenges your worldview or rationalize mistakes instead of learning from them. Daniel Kahneman, a pioneer in cognitive psychology, showed how such biases are not glitches but features of the brain's operating system, adaptations that once helped us survive but now often betray us in the complexity of modern life. Carl Jung described another hidden force, the shadow. This is the dark, unconscious part of your personality that you reject or suppress. The shadow hides your fears, desires, and instincts that don't align with your self-image. Yet, it governs much of your behavior from the shadows, influencing your relationships, your self-sabotage, and your repeated patterns. Philosophers like Nietzsche warn of will-to-power illusions, the narratives you tell yourself to feel in control. He suggested that much of human behavior is driven by subconscious drives masked as rational choices. Viktor Frankl's existential psychology pointed out that meaning itself can be elusive and often distorted by these hidden mental patterns. Why are these biases and shadows so hard to detect? Because they operate beneath your awareness, camouflaged by the mind's tendency to create coherent stories about the self. Your brain craves narrative consistency, so it stitches together beliefs and actions into a seamless identity, even when contradictions lurk beneath. This cognitive dissonance keeps you comfortable but trapped. Your sense of identity, who you think you are, depends on these mental models. They shape your emotions and behavior so deeply that questioning them can feel like an existential threat. It's easier to blame circumstances or others than to peer into this inner darkness. Imagine a stage play where the spotlight is always on the conscious you, but behind the curtains, the shadowy puppeteers pull the strings. These puppeteers are your biases, anchoring your fears, distorting your perception, and keeping you locked in repetitive cycles. The more you rely on intuition, or fast thinking, what Kahneman calls System 1, the more you risk falling into these traps. Even your rational mind system can be hijacked, justifying what the unconscious desires. This hidden mental machinery controls how you interpret success, failure, trust, and even love. It decides which fears become obsessions and which desires remain unspoken. Understanding this is the first step, but it's a step into discomfort. Because you must confront parts of yourself you might prefer to ignore. And here lies the great paradox. To free yourself, you must first become a vigilant observer of these hidden forces, even when they expose your vulnerabilities and flaws. What happens when these invisible forces go unchecked? When your mind's hidden biases and shadows remain unexamined, they don't just distort your thoughts, they silently reshape your reality, carving out patterns of suffering, misjudgment, and self-imposed limitation. Picture this. You walk into a room full of opportunities, but your confirmation bias filters the possibilities, highlighting only what fits your old beliefs. The mental models you cling to act like narrow lenses, blurring the richness of reality. This narrow focus might make you feel secure, but it cages you in a prison of your own making. On a personal level, these unseen patterns often lead to repeated mistakes, failed relationships, career stagnation, self-sabotage. Jung called this the psychological complex, unconscious patterns that play out like ghosts from your past. You think you are making new choices, but the same shadowy script repeats, and you wonder why you keep hitting the same walls. Culturally, these biases ripple outward. Societies become echo chambers, reinforcing groupthink and silencing dissent. The tribal mind, fueled by mental shortcuts, divides us from them, breeding mistrust and conflict. Media and social networks exploit these tendencies, feeding confirmation bias and emotional triggers to keep attention locked. Neurologically, your brain is wired to seek reward and avoid pain, a mechanism that once preserved life but now often fuels anxiety, addiction, and fear of change. The fight-or-flight reflex hijacks reason, making you vulnerable to manipulation by your own mind. Consider the availability heuristic. You overestimate the importance of information that comes easily to mind. This can amplify fears like overestimating danger in daily life or inflate confidence, leading to reckless decisions. Everyday decisions, from what you eat, who you trust, to how you vote, are colored by these hidden patterns. You may feel like a rational agent, but often, you're a passenger on a ride controlled by unconscious forces. The emotional toll is heavy. The dissonance between who you want to be and who you actually are can lead to chronic dissatisfaction, imposter syndrome, or a creeping sense of meaninglessness. Viktor Frankl, who endured the horrors of the Holocaust, wrote about the existential vacuum, a profound emptiness that emerges when you lose touch with authentic purpose, often because mental traps obscure your clarity, even your perception of time is warped. You cling to the past, replaying grievances, or anxiously project futures shaped by fear. This mental looping erodes your presence, making life a series of rehearsals for pain instead of lived moments. The tragedy is that most never realize they're caught in this web. They interpret life's failures as external misfortune, missing the internal mechanisms at work. This ignorance perpetuates suffering and keeps the cycle turning, generation after generation. But awareness is a powerful disruptor. Once you glimpse these shadows, you can begin to see the chains, however faint, and start the arduous process of breaking them. Imagine standing at the edge of a mental abyss, the same patterns pulling you downward. Yet, within this darkness lies a spark, an invitation to rebel against the invisible forces shaping your life. This rebellion is not loud or violent. It's quiet, radical, and profoundly internal. The first step is awareness, not just a fleeting thought, but deep, sustained attention. Daniel Kahneman called this system to thinking, the deliberate, slow, reflective mode that can override your automatic biases. But awareness alone isn't enough. It must be coupled with courageous action. Carl Jung spoke of individuation, the lifelong journey of integrating your shadow, the parts of yourself you deny or ignore, into wholeness. This process demands honesty, humility, and the willingness to face your darkest truths. It's a rebellion against self-deception and societal conditioning. One powerful tool to break free is mental model inversion, looking at problems from the opposite perspective. For example, if your bias is overconfidence, cultivate doubt and curiosity instead. Naval Ravikant advises embracing negative visualization, imagining the worst-case scenario to build resilience and clarity. Philosophically, Nietzsche's idea of amor fati, or love of fate, invites you to embrace life's struggles as necessary parts of growth, not obstacles to avoid. This mindset shifts your relationship with discomfort, transforming resistance into fuel for transformation. Psychological rewiring through mindfulness and cognitive behavioral techniques can weaken the grip of biases and emotional reactivity. By observing your thoughts without judgment, you create space for choice instead of automatic reaction. History is full of examples of those who broke free from mental slavery. Viktor Frankl in the concentration camps found meaning amidst suffering. Modern thinkers who challenge conventional wisdom by questioning the very frameworks others take for granted. Your rebellion is a mental revolution, a conscious redesign of your internal software. It's about replacing autopilot with deliberate navigation. Practically, this means developing habits that question assumptions daily, journaling your thought patterns, seeking out dissenting opinions, or practicing empathy to understand perspectives outside your own bubble. Each small act of awareness and challenge weakens the invisible chains. Over time, you cultivate mental clarity and emotional freedom, no longer a prisoner of hidden patterns but the master of your own mind. Imagine realizing that your mind, with all its complexity, was never designed to find absolute truth. It was built to survive, to predict danger, conserve energy, and maintain coherence, even at the cost of reality's full complexity. This revelation is both unsettling and liberating. Your brain's primary goal is not clarity, but survival. As Viktor Frankl said, meaning emerges not from seeking truth itself, but from the choices you make amid uncertainty and suffering. The biases and mental models that once seemed like shackles are in fact survival mechanisms, imperfect tools forged by evolution. This ultimate truth reframes your entire struggle. The invisible traps, the recurring mistakes, the emotional storms. They are not failures but signals, messages from a system trying its best under impossible conditions. Philosophically, this echoes Nietzsche's declaration that God is dead. The old certainties are gone, leaving you to create your own values and meanings in a chaotic world. It's the terrifying freedom of radical responsibility. In this light, your mental rebellion is not a battle to conquer the mind but a dance with its shadows, embracing uncertainty, paradox, and imperfection as essential to growth. The journey is less about eradicating biases and more about learning to navigate with grace. Jung's concept of the self reminds us that wholeness includes light and darkness, certainty and doubt, order and chaos. Your task is to become conscious of this complexity, holding it without despair. Imagine now standing at the edge of that abyss again, this time not as a victim, but as a voyager. The unknown is no longer a threat but an invitation, a vast landscape of possibility. This is the ultimate liberation, to accept that the mind will never be perfect, but your awareness can be. To know that every choice, every act of reflection, is a step toward freedom. Your story doesn't end with certainty, it begins there.